everybody, and welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm Kava Taharian.
And I'm Hannah Hillam. You didn't prepare me for this.
Yeah, I don't prepare you for anything. Welcome back to the show. Hannah, you've been gone on the road. You've forgotten the insanity and the chaos that is 500 Open Tabs, and now you have to come back to work.
Yeah, this is work.
And host again.
Look,
yeah.
It's only work if you make money. So this is my passion.
That's true. It's a passion project.
Yeah.
Of course, Hannah's been gone on her book tour, crisscrossing around the United States, going to all different places, shaking hands, kissing babies, trying to win votes.
Stop bringing your babies to my book tour, okay? If I have to kiss another infant. No, I've been going around. I went to Pasadena. I went to Portland. I've never been to Portland before. Mm-hmm. That was nice. That was really fun.
Nice.
And I have one more tour date left, which is Salt Lake at the King's English, the day after Halloween on All Hallows Day. Samhain, yeah.
Right?
Samhain, I think.
Samhain.
Anyway, so thank you for coming.
This ends your tour date, so now you're back for good. Unfortunately,
I'm never leaving here.
Us.
I'm in this room. You've made me stay here. You've locked me in here. It's just podcast prison.
Podcast prison. All podcasts are a prison.
Anyway, so before we start, I wanted to say thank you to our guest host for filling in, Alyssa, amazing, and of course, the Triple Cave episode, which was it like the Spider-Man meme where you're just pointing at each other?
It was just the whole time, just like, hey.
How did everyone mess your name up? That was
exactly.
cool, though. So
that was a lot of fun. Thank you, of course, to all those Kavas and Alyssas.
Thank you.
I should say there might have been another Alyssa who was. We hired a second Alyssa to edit the Alyssa episode.
We keep her
consistent
in the attic, like Bart's twin in the Treehouse of Horror. My favorite episode.
Yes. Anyway, thank you to everybody as well. It's nice to have you back, Hannah.
Thank you.
Seeing as how you have not had to do a tab for a long time, do you want to go first, or what do you want to do?
How about you go first?
Okay, I will. So, of course, we're releasing this on the day before Halloween. Mm-hmm. So it's Halloween Eve.
Actually,
I guess
there is a name for that. I was in my studies. I found out that the day before. Hold on, it has an actual name, and it is called. In Jersey, they call it New Jersey, not the island Jersey. They call it Mischief Night, which is when they just
Mischief Night.
They go around like wrecking stuff in Detroit.
Nice.
And New Jersey.
In Detroit or Jersey?
Both.
New Jersey, yeah. Okay. Nice. Well, as such, I'm wearing my holiday-appropriate track jacket.
Oh, you got one for every season, don't you?
I got one for every season. I was so excited when I found this one. So, originally, I had a non-Western focus tab for this episode for Halloween. But
wow.
I started reading about the subject that I ended up choosing, and I decided that I had a moral obligation to you and this podcast to pursue this train of rabbit holing, or tabbit holing, as we like to call it. So,
okay.
Now
you owe this to me? Is that what you're saying?
I had a moral obligation to cover this subject because you'll understand. So it might be a bit base for all you Halloween heads out there, but I looked into.
For those of you not watching the YouTube, he just like Superman ripped his like tracksuit open, and he has a jack-o'-lantern face on his shirt.
Do you like that shirt design?
I do. Did you do that?
Yeah. So last night, like a kid who had to.
You did this last night.
Like a kid who had to do.
Like a book report. Oh my god.
Yeah. Like I need to go get a piece of foam core to like do my poster design
at 10 p.m.
At 10 p.m., I was like, because I assumed Sarah would have some sort of an orange t-shirt. And I was like, do you have an orange t-shirt? She's like, weirdly enough, I don't have one.
Oh.
And she was like, you should just make a jack-o'-lantern one. And I was like, she's like, you can do that pretty easily. I was like, okay, let's do that. So I went to Joann's. It's like $3 for an orange t-shirt.
Amazing.
And then, of course, Sarah's got a Cricut, and she loves any excuse to Cricut something.
The Cricut,
so
yeah.
We used the Cricut. We made it. So thank you to Sarah for producing the shirt that I designed in Adobe Illustrator. I was very excited to do it. And of course, I got hyperfixated and stayed up way too late on that drawing. But
would not have thought you would do anything else. Why wouldn't you?
Consistent.
Yeah, you're nothing but consistent. You're anything not but consistent.
Thank you. Anyway, so
love it.
This tab is going to be about jack-o'-lanterns and their origins. And let me tell you, this is fun as shit, and I went into some weird little side quests, and I know you're going to love it.
Okay. I just made a strange sound. Like someone who just saw like the Beatles live in 1960 something.
It's the Beatles, but with jack-o'-lanterns on top of their heads that are flaming and like on fire,
What?
and they're just throwing their head at everybody in the audience.
Oh, I thought you meant that's actually part of the history. I was about to get real excited.
That's what happened at the Beatles concert on the Ed Sullivan Show. They
right.
lopped their heads off and threw them at people. Anyway, okay,
Disgusting.
getting very off track.
Blood everywhere.
So again, I had not read into anything about jack-o'-lanterns prior to this. So as it seems, jack-o'-lanterns are in fact of Irish origin.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know this?
Yes.
You did know. Okay,
But
so it's jack-o'-lantern.
I figured because it was like, I only know like one thing about the history of jack-o'-lanterns, and I'm sure you're about to get into it right now. But other than that, I don't know anything else.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know why it never occurred to me. I guess the way I've always seen it written, I just assumed it was like some random like string of words, but it never occurred to me to be like the O apostrophe lantern.
Oh, yeah.
Like O'Brien or O'Doyle or whatever. So it's jack-o'-lantern.
Jack of Lantern? Interesting.
Yeah, basically Jack of the Lantern. But
So
I'm happy to
excited.
report there's lore that explains this. But before I get into all of that, a little bit of context.
Okay.
So without getting into the holiday's whole history, just like a sort of primer, the Celts celebrated their New Year's Day, which they called, what'd you call it?
Samhain.
Samhain.
It's Samhain, I think.
Samhain on November 1st. And on what we now refer to as Halloween, spirits, fairies, demons, and other creatures were thought to walk the earth as they traveled to the afterlife. And in order to ward off this basket of dead deplorables, the Celts wore costumes, of course, to scare them away. And additionally, they carved scary faces into vegetables like beets, potatoes, and turnips, of which they had typically a lot of them lying around after a harvest. That is, of course, until there was a giant famine beginning in 1845, exacerbated by a certain government, but more on that later.
I was about to say, I'm so proud of my ancestry right now. Carving vegetables and being creepy in the woods. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, this is all you. So lastly, metal lanterns weren't exactly cheap.
Oh, right.
And, they're made out of metal and shit. And if you're some poor Irish farmer, you had to make by with what you got. If your kids are tugging at your shirt being like, Dad, can we have lantern?
Can we
He's
have
like,
food?
Dude, we have lantern at home.
We have lantern. Lantern at home sucks, Dad.
It's true, it does. But you get to carve it into like an evil looking dead face.
Yeah.
And that's fun. You throw a little candle in it.
That's kid's best. That is a kid's dream right there.
Yeah. So this is sort of the loose. There's a lot of stuff on this, but that's kind of like roughly where it comes from.
Cool.
And that's sort of the practical reason. But the reason why people carve faces into turnips with a fire inside is not about practicality. That's not why we're interested in it. We're interested in it in terms of how insane it gets.
Yeah. How did it go from turnip carving to
pumpkins?
Yeah.
So let's go back. Where are we going back to, Hannah?
Oh, I don't know.
What? Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was going to...
Back to the bogs of rural Ireland.
Yes! Woo, woo, woo. Ah, you're speaking my language.
That's why I told you. I was like, this is a bog story.
This is my favorite thing. For those of you who haven't seen the bog bodies at the Dublin Library, I think it's the library, go look at them.
Yeah.
Go look at them.
Go look at them.
They're so crazy.
They might tie into this.
Oh my gosh. Shut up.
Okay, I'll stop talking.
So excited.
Podcast
Look,
over.
I'm excited. It's funny because this episode I was like, I'm going to be calm and I'm not going to freak out a bunch, but it's,
Why wouldn't you freak out a bunch? That's the whole appeal.
I don't know.
How do I know to push harder in the podcast if you don't freak out? If you're just going to give me like a flat reaction. That's like actors. Acting is reacting. Podcasting is re-podcasting.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, you're right. You're right.
Anyway, bogs of rural Ireland. Do I have your attention?
Yes, peat bogs. You know what?
Yes, peat bogs.
If my family had stayed in Wales and Ireland or whatever, we'd just be digging bogs right now. We'd just be digging peat bogs for fuel. I know it. I feel it in my heart.
Yeah, I feel it. So in the early 1600s, the legend of a shadowy figure began to arise known as Stingy Jack, a.k.a. Jack the Smith, a.k.a. Drunk Jack, a.k.a. Flaky Jack,
No.
a.k.a. Miguel Sanchez, a.k.a. Dr. Nguyen Van Vuck. Anyway,
I don't know.
That's a Simpsons joke for you.
Should have known it.
Stingy Jack was a fellow blacksmith.
Hey,
and
lantern.
a total bastard.
Oh, well, yeah.
So
another
obviously, I
thing you have
immediately
in
love this
common.
guy. Exactly. I'm like, I love this guy. He's the best. Total bastard and a blacksmith. Also, bit of a drunk. And he used to raise hell everywhere he went
he did.
and was a great trickster.
Love him.
His reputation spreads far and wide, everywhere. People know about it.
Yeah.
And it went so far that even the devil himself was like, I wish to subscribe to your newsletter,
The
Jack.
devil flagged
I'm into
him?
this. It's the opposite. The devil was like, who is this dude, Jack? I'm following you on TikTok and watching everything in your YouTube, which, by the way, if you have a YouTube, you should subscribe to ours.
Do it.
And anyway, every night, Jack, he does the same thing. He goes to the bar and he gets ripped.
Yes.
And one night on his way to the pub, the devil appears. And he's like, bro, first of all, huge fan of your work. And not to make this awkward, but like, you should totally help me move this couch into my van because like my arm is broken and like I can't really do it
I'll give you
alone. It's kind of
pizza.
awkward. Yeah. But Jack, right? Jack's like this trickster. He's like, bro, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. I know what's going on. So he kind of like puts his arm around the devil and he's all, listen, bro, we could let you kidnap me in your rape van. Or what we could do is we could go to this pub where I know the bartender and he'll totally hook us up with as many ice cold pints as we want.
Wow. Who needs rape when you can have
And Satan-
pints?
And Satan thinks to himself for a second. He's like, yeah, you know, it is really hot in hell. And a cold beer actually sounds really nice. I would love that. And Jack's like, yeah, dude, self-care, very, very important.
The devil should understand that.
The devil should understand
Yeah.
that. Self-care. Listen, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You never know. Because if you don't do it, who will?
Go to the spa.
Who will do it if you don't?
Don't get a rape
Exactly.
ban.
In this case, don't get a rape in. In this case, it's 1600s Ireland pub. That's where the devil decides to take self-care.
Imagine being there, dude. Oh, but it was so cool.
It probably smells great,
Horrible.
I imagine.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that. But I was in a 16th century pub in York, and I was like, this is insane. This is so old.
In the 16th century?
Yeah.
Like when you were time traveling?
Yeah, I
or
went
this
back
is
in time.
recently?
No, it was like in 2017. It was cool.
What is it? Just like a mud building of some sort that's like lasted forever? Like what do you make in the 16th century that lasts?
a lot
for a
of
pub?
things, dude. Like those, like,
No, I'm saying, what do you make it out of?
oh, like, you want me to go into this?
Yeah, explain to us, because I have no idea what a 16th century Irish pub looks like. So why don't you set the scene
I would
for us?
imagine that it's like one of those houses you see that are like kind of Shakespearean Tudor with they're called wattle and daub houses, which is they use those big cross beams made of oak. They're super strong. Old growth oak, which is what they used. We don't use old growth trees anymore because not good, but it's excellent wood. They're old and they're so strong. They're so strong. They're like that's why some of these wooden buildings are still around. And they have like this weird, like they would combine like, I think it's animal poo and like clay and sand. And they would like
Guano.
Yeah, it was like this sticky stuff that would hold this like frame together, and they've been using this forever, and I think they still do. But so yeah, I just picture like a Shakespearean pub, and that's pretty much what it is.
Was it pretty tiny, the one that you went? I imagine not that big.
It was little. It was like it was really tall, but it was like kind of little, and it was really weird because you could like it was like off center, like it was like sinking in on itself. So
That's kind of
the
cool.
floor was like tipped, and part of the beams were like bent. It was crazy. I don't remember the name of it, but it was really cool, and it was
Probably just called pub. I wonder, were they still serving liquor,
Yeah.
or it was just there as like a historical?
No,
thing?
you-
Well, they were.
you
You
could
could
go
actually
in,
literally
yeah.
still go drink
Yep.
there.
and people would.
That's awesome.
And I went and got like fish and chips at this like 600-year-old pub. It was insane.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a cool
It
experience.
was awesome. Where was it? You said
It's in York, but they're all over. There's multiple ones. What was
Sure,
this
right,
one
right.
called? I want to say it was like something with the word swan in it. Anyway, go on. So we're in a 16th century pub
Anyway,
with the
so-
devil.
Jack and the devil. They're walking along. They get to the bar and they're drinking, and it's awesome,
Yes.
right? Pint after pint, they just keep throwing them back, and they're getting shit faced. They're playing darts. They're ordering like, buffalo wings and, potato skins. Satan gets the courage to get this girl's number at the end of the bar. It's like a perfect night. Perfect.
Oh, Satan.
Right? They're really coming into themselves. And at the end of the night, right as the bill comes, Satan's like, Jack, listen, Jack.
Yeah.
You're a solid bro. Like, you're solid, bro. Seriously. And like, listen, I don't just tell anyone that. So if I say you're solid, that means something.
Oh.
But here,
Do they kiss?
But here's the deal. I'm like, I'm Satan. I'm the devil. I know this. And your shit, bro, your shit is fire. And I got to bring you back with me to hell. You got to come with me.
Oh, he got it.
Dude,
He got it.
do you know
him
how
home?
he's just like, you got to come back. Do you know how excited Henry Kissinger is going to be?
Oh.
He's going to love this. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so sick.
The Kissinger lore is that he was there before he was alive, and he was sent.
He was reincarnated.
He was
yes.
sent back to Earth, and then, yeah, Reagan's down there. It's great.
Yeah, funny you said that. And Jack, he knows what's up. He's not an idiot. He's a trickster himself.
Right.
And he's like, look, man, I really dig your vibe too. He's letting him down gently. He's very nice about it, right? Because you can't, when someone's that drunk and aggressive, like you got to be mindful. You can't just be like, get away from me.
Careful.
You got to like, you got to be careful. You got to be make eye contact, put your hand on their shoulder, just very calmly be like, I really dig your vibe too. And I would absolutely go down to hell with you and everything. But, honestly, like I've been having a great time. I really have, honestly. I'm not bullshitting you, but I did just meet you. Like it's a little bit soon.
This is fast.
Like, and honestly, how do I even really know that you're the devil? I don't, as far as I know, like we just had drinks and we're hanging out and having a good time. You got that girl's number. There's nothing to me that indicates that you're Satan.
He looks over and the girl's just a turnip with a face carved into it. That girl over there.
And Satan, he is hurt. Like this is like daggers in his heart. He is so offended. And, in all of his years of being the Prince of Darkness, no one has ever doubted his powers. And he's like, excuse me?
He hasn't been this heartbroken since Margaret Thatcher dumped him.
Exactly. And Jack is like, bro, get get it together. Stop being so emotional. Relax. just think about it from my perspective. I can't go based on faith alone. That's for the guy upstairs. That's that guy. That guy's all about faith. I gotta see it. So I don't know. Look, just turn into I don't know. Just turn into a coin. What? If you could turn into a coin, I will gladly come be a part of your three-way 69ing parties with Kissinger and Reagan while he watches in the corner and jerks off.
He's gonna cuck Satan. He's gonna cuckold Satan. Wait, who's the cuck in this situation? Is it Satan or is it Jack?
So Satan and Kissinger and Jack are 69ing each other while Reagan watches in the corner and jerks off.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the cuck. Yeah.
And Maggie Thatcher is like, she's moved on at this point.
She's not even interested in this point. She's like,
boring. Her and Oliver Cromwell are just going at it.
And Satan, naturally, he gets really excited thinking about all the possibility of all this happening. He's like, okay, fine. For you, I'm going to do it. I'm going to turn into a coin. And true to his word, he transforms himself into a coin.
Hold on. Sorry. Hang on. The logistics of a three-way 69, I can't. It's tough. Like, how does that work? Are we gonna
it's like a human centipede that like the snake eating its own tail kind of thing. That's all it is.
Ouroboros. Okay, thanks for explaining that because my brain grabbed onto that and did not let go. So
listen, coin? You're like Satan. You're fixated on it and you're like, I love this.
Yeah.
And so Satan's like, listen, this is too good of an opportunity to let go. So he turns himself into a coin, like a shilling or something, whatever they would have had in the 1600s.
Yeah, probably.
And everyone at the bar is like, oh my God, I'll be damned. What? Like a puff of smoke. And it's like a magician's trick. But not Jack. Jack, his drunk ass takes this coin, the devil coin, puts it in his pocket, then puts in like a mini silver crucifix. Oh. And like bada bing, bada boom, the devil's trapped.
He imprisoned him. No more Kissinger.
He imprisoned the devil.
No more sweet Kissinger for you. Disgusting.
He's all, bye, Felicia, and just like leaves the bar and goes about his life.
Did you just use a meme from like 8 years ago?
It's from the movie Friday, okay?
Well,
anyway,
I'm
an elder millennial. I know these references. So basically, he puts him in his pocket and he traps him there. And the devil is like, dude, let me out. I can't be trapped in your pocket. This is so annoying. What are you doing? I thought we were friends. And he whines and he whines and he complains so much that finally Jack is like, okay, but only if you don't make me to go to hell for like another year.
Oh.
Okay, I gotta see the next Avengers movie with Tony Stark as Dr. Doom.
No.
I gotta wait for that.
That's part of going to hell. You've mistaken it. That's my hell.
Jack really wants to see it, and the devil under his breath is like, wow, an insufferable Marvel fan? How original, interesting. And Jack's like, did you just say superhero movies aren't cinema? And Satan's like, no, whatever, it's fine. We have a deal. Just let me out. I don't care.
I can't listen to this anymore.
So Jack's chilling, and a year's a pretty long time. So he's like, I'm going to relax for a couple months and then I'll get to my bucket list before I'm dragged to hell eventually. It's fine. I got plenty of time. And sure enough, closes his eyes for like a second and suddenly a year's gone by because that's the curse of adulthood.
Yes. I was just thinking about that this morning. I was like, I'm 35. And then I was like, no, I'm almost 37.
Yeah.
Wanted to vomit.
So a year goes by and sure enough, the devil comes back. And he's like, he's pointing at his watch and he's like, time to go.
The Judge Judy gif.
Yeah, exactly. The Judge Judy meme. Exactly. And Jack, again, smart guy.
Yeah.
Also drunk. And Jack's just like, dude, listen, I'll be real with you.
I'm so hungover.
I'm super hungover right now. I'm so hungover.
I stepped on your joke.
He's like, do you think I could just eat do you think I could just eat like an apple or something? So I need to sober up before we go. It's not going to be great. And the devil, he's got a soft spot for apples and he loves story callbacks. So he's like, okay, fine. I can get you an apple.
Does he love apples?
And he's, Adam and Eve
and
the
apple.
Satan and
I forgot all about that.
Tree of knowledge.
He does love apples. Like horse.
So he loves the self-referential. Yeah. And he's like, all right, that's fine. He's like, and plus he's got respect for Jack. He's kind of low key, like a little bit afraid of him. Where he's just like, I don't want to mess with this guy. He already like tricked me once.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, oh, listen, like there's a tree right there. It looks pretty good, but like straight up, I can't climb it, dude. I'm too drunk. Like I'm gonna throw up. Can you just? And Satan's like, wow, fine. I guess I have to do everything around here.
Yeah.
And he climbs the tree to grab an apple. And as soon as he does, Jack magically sobers up and just carves this giant cross into the bottom of the tree.
Yes, Jack. I love how he's amoral, but he'll still just use the crucifix, like a crucifix or a cross.
Right.
Yeah, just use what he can.
And the devil is like, bro, again? I can't deal with crosses. How am I supposed to get down?
You know I can't deal with crosses.
You know I can't deal with this. I thought we were homies. What is going on?
Did last year mean nothing to you? Did it mean nothing?
It didn't. And so Jack strikes another deal. This time for 10 years.
Oh.
He says, a decade. I don't want a year. I need a decade. And Satan, he's like, I cannot believe that I've been bested by this drunk blacksmith again. And he agrees. And he pisses off back to hell to 69 Reagan and Kissinger, this time while Roy Cohn watches.
Oh, he's there. Of course. He's the cuck.
Yep.
I just pictured Satan doing this and just sobbing. Just anyway.
And Jack's like, sucker, I got 10 more years of drinking ahead of me. Joke's on you, whatever. And he's like, it's going to be awesome. Except his liver is like, yeah, actually, no, not quite.
No, I'm kind of on my deathbed.
Yeah, it's kind of over for us, Jack. And soon after, sure enough, Jack dies.
No! Jack dies?
Yeah. Jack dies. And he goes to the pearly gates.
No, he goes to hell.
No, first he goes to the pearly gates.
Okay.
He goes there, and it's, what is it, St. Peter? He's there, and he's like looking at his thing, and he's like, let me see. Jack the blacksmith, got shit-faced all the time, never helped anybody out, twice deceived the devil himself.
Respect.
Yeah, and Jack's like, yeah, buddy, reporting for duty. Say, what kind of loggers you guys got in heaven anyway? Yeah.
Aye, Captain.
Yeah, and God's there, and he's just kind of like, he's like, no, denied. Like, we're not going to let this guy into heaven. Just go to hell. Bye. He also gives him the bye, Felicia. But it's God. He's been around forever, so he makes the old references.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just like you.
Yeah, exactly. And he sends him to hell, and then he gets to hell's gates. And he's just like, Satan, devil, buddy, what's up? It's me. I'm here.
You better open up a little spot in there for me and that 3-way 69. It's going to be a 4-way soon.
Yeah. So, Satan gets up and he towels himself off and he's just like, you died? What are you doing here? It hasn't even been the 10 years. And he's like, well, they didn't want me in heaven, so we're going to be homies after all. And the devil, he is just like, that God doesn't want you? He's like, well, that's no fun.
You and me both, buddy.
You've taken all the fun out of it. Yeah. He's just like, I'm not taking God's sloppy seconds. That's not interesting to me. And he's like, dude, just eat shit. Get out of here.
Why am I?
So Jack,
I love the devil. Kind of loving the devil right now.
Because we've all been bested by somebody. So Jack, he has to go back to Earth.
Oh.
But before he did, the devil flung a single burning ember from the fiery pits to light his way through the eternal darkness.
Amazing.
And Jack took that ember and he put it into a turnip lantern, thus creating the legend of the jack-o'-lantern who roams the bogs and marshlands using the devil's ember to light his way.
Yes. Bugs. Okay, here's the thing about that is that there's those things called the will-o'-wisp. Will-o'-the-wisp?
That's what I'm about to get into.
Okay, go for it.
Funny enough, yeah.
I won't say anything else because I do know a lot about this Irish mythology.
I thought you might, so I didn't get into too much of this. But so aside from being an awesome story, there's a theory about why it took hold. And that is there's a natural phenomenon, as you're about to say, that occurs in marshlands and bogs in Ireland's countryside called ignis fatuus, I believe is the pronunciation, that produces flickering lights as gases from decomposing organic matter combust.
Someday that'll be me.
Also known as will-o'-the-wisp. It often seems like a floating flame that would move away from you as you walked closer to it. So if you're a person who's just walking around and you see this weird bluish dancing light and you try to like go see what it is and it looks like maybe it's somebody like holding a light, you could theoretically fall into a sinkhole or a bog and drown, which is not cool.
I mean,
it might be cool. That's true, unless it's you. But if you're not trying to die, the story of Jack-o'-lantern may have also served as an unintentional PSA, tricking people into not following the random flames popping up in the bog, lest they wish to be buried in the bog, which in your case is a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so he's Turnip Head Jack, and that would make sense if they're like, hey kids, don't wander into the bog. The devil's nemesis is going to kill you and drag you down.
This guy that like screwed over the devil twice. Exactly.
He got kicked out of heaven and hell. That's awesome.
Dude, it's awesome as shit. I love him.
Yeah.
Also, good hang, clearly knows how to like party at the bar.
Live fast, die young, but also lead a bunch of kids to their death.
So modern science explains the light aspect as natural phenomenon such as bioluminescence or chemiluminescence caused by the oxidation of phosphine, diphosphane, and methane produced by organic decay, much like your body when it's finally time. In the marsh and in the bog.
Why did that why was that touching to me? What's wrong with me?
Because that's your dream. Nothing.
A lot.
Nothing is wrong with you.
Oh, thanks.
Interestingly, since bogs and marshlands aren't exclusive to Ireland, these kinds of insane stories show up in places like Mexico, which apparently like has to do with like witches, ghost lights in India called chirbati. There's references in Japan with something called hitodama, which are fireballs said to be the souls of the dead that have separated from their bodies.
Cool.
It sounds like you might have done some of this, but the Will-o'-the-Wisp shit is like its own 150 million tabs. There's a lot to read about. It's really interesting.
I have implemented the Will-o'-the-Wisp into the graphic novel that I'm the myth.
no shit.
Yeah, the myths. I'm like modernizing a myth, a Welsh myth, an Irish myths into like a story, and that's part of it. There's like a whole aspect of it.
Here I am thinking that I could give you a fun tidbit, but do you know? Here's me Welsh explaining to you, but do you know, at least in the West, who first wrote about the Will-o'-the-Wisp?
No.
In 1340, apparently I do have now. I do have a one up on you. That's exciting. In 1340, poet Dafydd ap Gwilym.
Davith.
Do you know this man?
Davith ap Gwilym.
Davith ap Gwilym described the blue flame phenomenon from the bogs and named them Canoil Corf.
Okay, hold on.
Do you know what this is?
No, I don't know what this is. I'm
okay,
trying
good.
to find.
I did stump
hold
you with
on,
something.
I wanted to find the. Oh yeah, so this is Canwish Corf.
Canwich Corf.
Canwish Corf. Yeah.
Canwich
yeah,
Corf.
There you go.
Which means, do you know what it means?
Corf means something like the body, right? It's like
corpse.
That's right. Corf is corpse, but can is song. Canwish. I don't know what canwish means.
Corpse candles.
Yes. Okay.
So
everything
corpse
is
candles.
Good. I love everything you're saying. Canwish. Oh yeah, canwish is canwish corf.
Canwish corf. So corpse candles, something to do with like the longer you, it's like if you see them, the taller they are, the longer you have to live. And if they're shorter, you have less left to live. I don't know. I was gonna read about it, but I was like, I'm throwing you some red meat. I figured I'd throw that to you and be like, you can probably do a deep dive into that of something that you'd really want to do.
Thank you.
Before I forget,
ooh.
Do you want to see the funniest image ever?
Yes, I do.
Which is These are some. Here's one of the turnip lanterns from Ireland, which is objectively the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Let's see.
This is the most unhinged looking.
Are you kidding? Look at its little teeth. It's got like
it looks insane.
Baby teeth in there. Why is its mouth pink? Okay, go YouTube right now, everybody. You need to see this horrific little thing. It looks like a newborn baby.
It looks like something
head.
from a Quay, or something from a Quay Brothers like stop motion movie of some sort. It's truly horrific.
It's really gross. I didn't know turnips looked like that.
Neither did I.
It looks like it's like smelling something really horrible and like. Wow.
And then of course here's some of the phenomenon. Anyway, there's a bunch of crazy stuff. This is a piece by what's his name, Doré, of
the corpse
scandal stuff.
How did I not know this aspect of Welsh mythology? I'm disgusted with myself.
It's fine. That's why we have a show where I could teach you some stuff.
Listen to this. The Canwyll Corff is a relative of Gwrach yr Rhibyn, which is the Hag of the Mist.
The Hag of the Mist,
which is an even more terrifying Welsh version of the Irish Banshee. It takes the Okay, well, this is racist. Ready for this? The Gwrach yr Rhibyn takes the form of a repulsive old hag with piercing black eyes and a long flowing cape, and it is said to only appear to those of true Welsh pedigree. She's got big leathery wings. Yeah, she's like, "Oh, you got too much English in you." Actually, that's kind of cool. So, never mind. It's not really racist.
Anyway,
it's more like xenophobic hag.
Xenophobic, yeah.
Anyway,
So this is a whole thing. There's a billion ghost stories being told and whatnot, and then, as I mentioned earlier, the aforementioned potato famine of 1845 happens, and suddenly millions and millions of Irish people are forced to emigrate to the United States. And like all immigrants, they bring with them stories, traditions, whatnot. And when Halloween rolls around, they're like, this America place doesn't seem to have a whole lot of turnips and beets, but they do put pumpkin in everything. And then the other Irish guy is like, dude, I went to Trader Joe's and it was like everything from crackers to cream cheese to pizza filled with pumpkins.
Pumpkin spice pizza.
And it's borderline getting out of hand. Yeah. And the other guy's like, you can't base your entire personality around pumpkins. You need to develop an actual personality. You people are insane.
But hey, it is pretty much European culture to, well, no, it's not. Never mind it, because that's from Native Americans, right? They had pumpkins and squash, right?
Yeah, I think that was their whole deal. So anyway, the Irish were just like, there's way more pumpkins. There are turnips. Also, pumpkins are much better for carving and they're much bigger and like they can hold the fire and it's great. And so they just swapped them out and kept the tradition going. And people were like, hey, that's kind of cool. And now we're like the jack-o'-lantern capital of the world. So, salute.
I was going to say
to our Irish brothers and sisters for bringing us such a wonderful tradition.
It's interesting you say that, because now that you say that, the whole like making a deal with the devil is a very Irish thing, but it's also a very Southern thing. And I think it's because the Scotch Irish and the Irish settled the South. Like,
that makes sense.
And that's why bluegrass sounds like it does, because it sounds kind of like Celtic music a little bit, but with like a twang.
Oh, yeah.
So there's always those stories of like, do you want to be good at guitar? Then you got to make a deal with the devil. And then like, outsmart the devil. It's very Irish. That's cool, dude. Oh,
yeah.
You just gave me so many fun little I've
just like little tidbitty things. Yeah.
Blasts.
Thank you. Anyway, so that's sort of like there's a bunch. There's actually quite a lot to read about this. But I tried to just make it as, concise as I could to be like, there's a lot here to, like you said, there's little seeds of stuff that you can read about. But,
like Canwyll Corff, I'm very excited about the corpse candles.
Corpse candle is like, I think we should produce corpse candles.
Yeah.
I think we should just make bodies and put them in, like you could take your own 3D scan of your body and turn it into a corpse that was in the bog and then have a candle come out of it. I don't know.
That's what I want.
I think there's tremendous growth opportunity here for that.
Also, just like saying Canwyll Corff. It's really pretty.
Canwyll Corff.
It sounds like...
That seems like a cool band name. Once again.
There is a huge Welsh metal scene. Yes, there's the shirt.
Salute!
I can just picture you, like, being so tired and, like, I do need to go to bed, but I will not go to bed until I draw this pumpkin exactly how I want it.
100%.
And then
100%.
have my wife cricket it onto a shirt that I bought at Joann's. All within the span of, like, 5 hours, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Not even. Like much less than that. Yeah.
Thank you for this tab. This is just
so
delightful.
It's a lot of fun. It was interesting to read about it. I just love that Jack story. I
Me
was
too.
like, this is unhinged.
And so
and I
Irish.
absolutely love Jack O'Lantern.
Right. I would love to.
I'm calling this my Jack O'Lantern shirt too, basically. I've decided that was my shout out to Jack O'Lantern, the original.
Yes, the original blacksmith.
Hated by the devil, and I feel like that's the kind of thing you put on the back of like a biography.
Yeah.
Like if Jack O'Lantern wrote a biography, he'd have like a quote from God hating him and a quote from the devil hating him.
Yes.
And then he'd be like, I want to read this guy's story.
And the only place he belongs is the bogs of Ireland. Okay.
Jack O'Lanterns are the best.
Wow, thank you. I gotta come down. From that for a minute. Oh yeah, look, did you see the lights? I tried to put like fun Halloween lights, and I completely forgot to tell you about them.
What is the shirt that you're wearing?
Oh.
You should just
What? What?
you just hit yourself in the face with the light.
Yeah. Gone which corpse? Okay, look.
That's cool.
Look, I'm a corpse candle. This says...
In dog years, I'm dead.
And it's a gravestone.
Very
Should
nice.
I wear these for my a
Yeah.
scarf made of... Look, you talked about Welsh mythology. I'm going insane. Oh, I can't. Like, this is bad.
You're like, I don't even want to do my own
Yeah,
tab.
no, I'm serious. I'm like, I need to read about the hag and the corpse candles and how they caused a Welsh mining disaster. That's what I just found.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
To be continued.
those are 1 in a million. I mean, those are like, what is it called? Something with a dime? Dime a dozen.
Dime a dozen?
Welsh mining disasters are a dime a dozen. Speaking of the English coming in and wrecking a whole culture. Yeah. Okay, I gotta get off this horse. Why is it a horse? Gotta get off this horse and get on
Why not?
my...
It's a headless horseman.
Ooh, or a headless horse. Just like a torso with legs and a stump.
Yeah, how
for
come
a
no one
head.
ever made a headless
Yeah,
horse? That's an
imagine
interesting
that
idea.
thing just running around and hitting into stuff, tripping,
Yeah.
just biffing it, falling
Throwing
all
human
over.
heads at people.
Yeah, with its...
Actually, no, it would throw a horse head because he's throwing a human head.
How would it throw it? It doesn't have opposable thumbs.
I don't know, it kicks it.
Oh, you're right. He just kicks his own head around like a soccer ball.
Why
That's
not?
my legend I'm going to do.
Hello, friends. Ad Reed Kava here. If you're like Hannah and I, you foolishly started a podcast without any idea of how to actually make money off of it. So, if you're one of our tens of fans, you can go to nebula.tv/500open-tabs and sign up for Nebula in order to help this very mid-podcast stay on for at least 1 more week, maybe 2. Thankfully, Nebula has exclusives like my old friend Lindsay Ellis's latest video titled Trying to Make Sense of the X-Men Cinematic Universe Timeline. The release of Deadpool and Wolverine marks the end of the 24-year run of the XMCU, the longest, single-running superhero movie continuity to date. Since it is all technically supposed to take place in the same timeline, Lindsay, along with Angelina, used their X-Men expertise to make some sense of the whole thing. X-Men? Lindsay and Angie? And it's not about musicals? Count me in! You can find this video and dozens of other high-production originals on Nebula, a video streaming platform built by and for creators. And of course, I'm contractually obligated to tell you that subscribers get a special feed to listen to this show ad-free. Go to nebula.tv/500open-tabs and get 40% off an annual subscription. By signing up, you can support other creators like Abigail Thorne, Princess Weeks, and many more. Remember, sign up at nebula.tv/500open-tabs and keep us from drowning in the hellscape that is modern living.
Okay.
Okay, Hannah, so what do you got for your tab?
Well, I almost went weird and creepy and British, okay? Like I usually do.
Yeah.
But half my open tabs are pretty much that already, and I've already talked at length about weird, creepy British stuff. I decided I'm going to go not predictable and
Okay.
do a little bit of something more wholesome that's very much
Interesting.
not spooky, but is very, very important to Halloween. So the open tab that spurred all of this, right, is actually a YouTube video, and it's an upload of a short documentary that's titled "We Need a Blockbuster, Charlie Brown: The Making of the Great Pumpkin." Did you ever watch The Great Pumpkin?
The Charlie Brown
Yeah.
special? Yeah, of course.
Okay, just making sure you didn't.
So what do I look like, a monster?
I know. But look, I don't know. So this is all about how that special came to be, and
Love it.
the impact it made, and just Charles Schultz in general. He's great.
Already love
Yeah.
it.
So, as the audience knows, if they've watched the Patreon AMA, we both deeply appreciate and love Charles Schultz and Peanuts and very influential to
Yep.
both of us as cartoonists, and for good reason. Charles, he actually liked to be called Sparky.
Sparky, that's right.
He never wanted anyone to call him Charles or Charlie. So Sparky Schultz was an American cartoonist, now considered one of the most influential cartoonists on Earth that has ever lived. Influenced almost everything you see now.
Literally everybody. Yeah.
Like Watterson and Matt Groening and Jim Davis all cite him as like, anyway, and
was the guy.
he created these characters that are just so, I mean, first of all, you can tell that they're like absolute mirrors of himself. He kind of split his own parts of his personality into this gang of kids.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, he named all these kids after people he knew. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you know a lot of this, right? Do you already know all of this?
I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna. I don't know the length to which you're gonna talk about it. But I told you there's that Michaelis book that I read.
Yeah.
That's the biography of Charles Schultz, which was apparently a bit controversial amongst the biographical writer community.
Why?
It wasn't because it was like he took a lot of liberties being like, this comic is a reference to this person in his life and like this event that happened. Not controversial like in like it was like wrong. It was just very like insider biography writers kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that biography is something that I read, and I had not really done comics for a long time, like since I was a kid. And part of the spark out of all the different, there was a lot of different factors that led me going back into it.
Right.
As an adult, but one of those was reading that book and being like, it really was inspiring to me in terms of like how he looked at his life and how he incorporated his life into the strip.
Oh, that's
and how much
really
of
cool.
it is like autobiographical. And I was like, it made me like look at it in like a sort of, now you can sort of see the Matrix Code thing.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I can do this. So
Yep.
that was a really, really important book for me to have read at the time that I read it. I highly recommend it to everybody. It's not an audiobook thing. Like you have to see the strip that he's referencing.
Right.
Like it's visual. It's not like a million strips in it or anything, but it's like you don't get the context of just having somebody else read it. Like you have to look at it. It's thick too, but it's really, really good. I can't stress enough how great that book is, and it's deeply sad.
Yeah.
But which is what I love about it.
He's really sad. Which I was like expecting him to have this horrific childhood, but he didn't. He's just sad, and I like that. You know what I mean?
No, he's sad. The whole thing with Charlie Brown, which was the whole thing that was with Schultz, which was so fascinating about it, is that like he was a gifted kid,
Yes.
and he grew up in a culture and in a place of like Norwegian immigrants who were like, you do not
Don't do this.
don't be gifted and draw attention to
Right.
yourself. We're just going to pretend like you're not gifted.
Blend
and so
in.
he internalized that and was like, I guess I'm just an insane weirdo. That's fundamentally Charlie Brown's thing.
That's why
which is
I
what
think
makes
I
it like
love
the
it.
source of all those comedies.
Because that is
sorry, I just hijacked this.
No, I figured you might. I was excited to
Yeah.
talk about this because I'm like, I know he's gonna love this. So, and also you have a lot to say too. Like I mean, it's
I have a lot to talk about. When
Peanuts
it comes
is
to
a
Schultz.
very important thing to me. It's funny because as I've been doing this entire tab, I've gotten really like self-reflective about comic art and cartooning,
Yeah.
and kind of like thinking like, why was like I've been doing this since I was little. Like sequential art has always kind of been my medium, and
Yeah.
there's a quote he says, I think in an interview he does with Charlie Kelly. No, not
Charlie
Kelly.
Rose? Charlie Kelly. It's like, so tell me about all the different things you're trying.
Denim chicken. Anyway, Charlie Rose.
Charlie Rose, right? He's sitting across the table and he's like, Charles Schultz.
Yes.
You are a cartoonist.
cartoonist.
You are.
You've seen the
What is it? Oh yeah, I just watched. I remember before it turned out he was a total piece of shit.
Oh yeah. Well,
and a gross old weirdo.
Charlie Rose, not
like-
Schultz.
He slams his hand on the table.
Yeah,
And it's just all,
so condescending.
Americana.
Yeah, and then Charles.
What does it all mean?
Schultz was like-
with his giant head.
People don't think we're artists, and we don't belong in museums. And I was like, thank you, because so often, like, I mean, shout out some of my teachers, some of my professors were great, but like a lot of them, like looking back on it, really did not foster my love for sequential art. I spent all my college years trying to suppress it, trying to fit into a mold. And the second I got out of college, I immediately went back to cartoons. Like it's just how it happened. And anyway, I just gotten all very, very like sentimental a little bit, or like this dude was the real deal. Just, he just did it.
He really was.
He just did it because he couldn't not do it. And I really relate to that.
That's the key. Yeah, it's like he couldn't not
Yes.
do it.
Like if he wasn't famous and doing it for the paper, he would still be doing this. And that's, dude, same. Like, I remember being backstage thinking I wanted to be an actress, and I would be like, I can't wait to get off stage, and so I can just sit down and draw until I have to get back on stage.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, I don't even want to be here. I just want to be drawing. And I would draw like cartoons. I remember the very first comic I ever did for anything was the school newspaper. And my friend was the editor, and he was like, can you draw something about Dick Cheney? And I was like, yeah. So I drew Dick Cheney as Gollum. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's all right. But that like gave me like I was like, oh, yes. And I was in a very conservative state, and nobody liked it. Nobody liked that. Anyway,
I'm gonna tell you a funny story real quick about a comic that I drew for the school paper.
Okay, I think. Okay, yeah.
Have I told you this before? Have I
don't
talked
know.
about it? I don't remember.
Do it anyway.
I might have told. I don't remember if I said this on like a Patreon thing or something. But just in case, I'll tell you the story because it's funny. Which is, I was also an illustrator in the school paper, and I also had to do comics. I had to do like whatever political cartoons and stuff like that. And there was a gag that was something about like a hall pass. I don't remember what the deal was with the hall pass, but that was part of the joke. And it was a POV shot. So it was somebody's hand holding a hall pass, and there was a whole gag, and it got printed and it like circulated throughout the school. No one paid attention to the gag. Everybody asked me why the hand had so much hair on it. and I was like, I just drew my own hand, and people were like, that's weird. And I'm like, that to me is that's like super emblematic of like, I did not grow up with representation because everyone got fixated on the hand on the hair.
Why is there so much hair on this hand? Whoa.
Yeah. And I was like, you didn't see the joke?
You're like,
anyway,
you got quietly othered by everybody.
Yeah. By everyone. People were like, I didn't even realize the gag.
Like,
all I could focus on was the hair.
This just looks like my hand.
Like, yeah. Anyway, I always thought that was a funny story
really
about how
funny.
insane it was growing up.
And a very good way to start an autobiography.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I have some good stories that I can tell.
You should tell them sometime in a book.
I will. One day. Anyway, continue. So Schultz. We love Schultz.
Forgive me if I get all like I wax all like, oh, art, but this means a lot to me. Turns out he means a lot to me.
It means a lot to me, yeah.
And I love all the quotes he says about like, I would just be doing this anyway, or like, oh, I don't know, I'm sad. So is Charlie Brown.
Basically, yeah.
And so he grew up an only child, which, come on, you gotta have something to do when you're alone.
Yeah.
And he was nicknamed Sparky by his uncle because he was nicknamed Sparky because his uncle named him after a horse named Sparkplug from a different comic book. So he was named after a cartoon. Like, interesting. So funny thing I read on his Wikipedia though is straight out of like Hannah Hillam handbook right here. He got it in his head that he was going to send a drawing into Ripley's Believe It or Not, which at the time I was constantly like, where can I send things into? Who's next? Like, and my mom was great. She's like, yeah, sure.
Let's do it.
Send this to Reading Rainbow.
Disney Adventures was mine. That was where I
really?
was like, my dream was to get published in Disney Adventures. Never happened.
Oh,
it's tragic.
Yeah, no, I never saw that.
I used to love Disney Adventures.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it was the best. It was like a bunch of Disney comics and like random stuff. It was like a magazine for kids. I loved it. Relic of the 90s. It was great.
He was like, I need to send this thing into Ripley's Believe It or Not, which was a comic strip at the time. So there was multiple things that Ripley did, and one of them was a comic strip. And so he drew this picture, I'm sure you've seen it, of a dog. He drew his dog, Spike.
Yeah.
Which is also the name he gives Snoopy's weird country cousin or whatever. So his dog Spike, and he wrote a caption that says, a hunting dog that eats pins, tacks, and razor blades. Owned by C.F. Schultz, drawn by Sparky. And so he just wanted to be like, check out, my dog eats all this insane stuff, because now we all know it's pica, and animals will eat anything if they have this thing called pica. So he sends this amazing... Have you seen this comic? I'm going to send it to you if you haven't.
Yeah, send it to me. I don't know if I have.
This is the very first published... Anyway, it gets published in Ripley's Believe It or Not, and you could already see his signature, like...
this does look familiar, yes.
Handwriting
Yep.
He, anyway, I can't talk too much about Charles Schultz because that's an entire, 5-hour tab documentary.
Yeah.
But his life got a little harder. He went to World War II. His mom died the same time he went to World War II. And it was really sad. It affected him deeply. He was notoriously deeply sad and self-deprecating, as you can probably see in his
Very
work.
much
So
so.
there's this awesome interview with Charlie Rose I talked about. And he says about cartooning, quote, "I suppose there's a melancholy feeling in a lot of cartoonists because cartooning, like all other humor, comes from the bad things that happen." So I'll just let that sit for us. His daughter Amy described him in one word, obsessed, and he agreed. And I was like, I feel seen. Speaking of bad things happening to him, though. So 1966 rolls around, right? I almost said The Muppets Christmas Carol. That doesn't make any sense.
The Muppets Christmas Carol, 1966. It comes out, even though the Muppets hadn't technically become a cultural phenomenon yet.
No,
but...
it's his entire studio burned down in 1966.
Right.
And his dad died at the same time, the same like year.
Not in the fire, but yes.
No. But so he was like, "Oh, cool, stuff's horrible, but I got to do this Christmas special." And so he makes Charlie Brown Christmas Special, huge hit. He makes Charlie Brown All Stars, big hit. Not as big of a hit, but the network comes to him in 1966, and they're like, "Hey, dude, we need another holiday special, and it has to be really good, like better than the Christmas special." And he was like, how? I can't do better.
What?
That already was really good. What do you want from me? And they're like, and if not, then I don't think we can do any more specials with you. And, that would piss me off.
Yeah, right. I'm sure.
I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
they're just jerking his chain.
Exactly. Just like the devil did.
He's a behemoth at this point. Like, yeah. This guy is like a merchandising juggernaut.
Yeah.
Like I think any studio would have kissed his ass and let him do whatever
they were just
he wants.
doing
that's
some
just
dumb
studio bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. We might not be able to make a special.
And he's like rolling in money. He's like,
yeah.
Oh, no problem. The kind of like the team that consisted of like that made these specials was Bill Melendez, the animator and director, and
awesome mustache.
Epic mustache. And then Mendelsohn. I didn't write his first name. Do you know his first name?
Bill Melendez.
And someone Mendelsohn.
And
Lee Mendelsohn.
Lee Mendelsohn and Bill Melendez.
Yeah.
But they both sound something about the rhythm of those two names sound the same.
Similar.
I don't know why. And Vince Guaraldi, of course.
Oh, yeah, I'll get there. So,
although Vince Guaraldi's not like, well, yeah, go ahead.
They brought him in later. So
I'm getting ahead of myself.
They sit down and Bill Melendez is like, I was worried. Good golly, who's interested in this kind of nonsense? Which just love him. Love Bill. Like another, TV show who's interested in this. So they sat down and Lee says, we all met and just stared at each other and just tried to figure out what we were going to do for a holiday special. Like, first of all, which holiday? And they settled on Halloween because Charles Schultz has a ton of Halloween-themed strips that had already been in syndication. Yeah. One of them being the lore of the giant, the Great Pumpkin, which he has this idea. He's like, I know, we're going to do the Great Pumpkin. And Charles got the like artist crazies when he was like, yes, that's what we're doing. And he, stood up. And it was sort of like his commentary on Santa Claus and like how dumb it is. And
commercialism.
Also
and all
on
that
faith
stuff,
and how your own faith is perceived by others. And which was weirdly also really important to him because I didn't know he was religious, but he was.
He was very religious, yeah.
So I watched this movie last night because, of course, I have to watch it.
The documentary, or you watched the actual?
I watched the
special,
movie. So they get to work on this, and they bring Vince Guaraldi in, and he wrote the other one for the Christmas special, and he
also a cool mustache.
He's a cool looking dude.
San Francisco based.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was from the city.
So they would bring the storyboard to him, and he would look over it and immediately start like noodling around on the piano as he read the storyboard to get the vibe, which I didn't know. That's really cool. You probably know all of this. I'm freaking out. Do you know all of this?
I don't know every single detail, and I love hearing it. It's like I've watched a TV show that I've watched before, and I get equally as excited because I like to see it.
I keep
again.
like collapsing in on myself. And one of the new songs in this one was called "The Great Pumpkin Waltz," and you can hear it when Linus is in the pumpkin patch, and with the little flute. Yep. And it was the same like jazz as usual, but this time he brought in a jazz flute because he wanted it to sound creepy. And I read the words jazz flute, and I immediately, Vietnam flashbacks for me, being in jazz band in high school, and them finding out I could play the flute, and my teacher being like, we need jazz flute for this. And I was just like, please, no.
Don't make me
Don't make me play the jazz flute. And so I had to play jazz flute for a concert. And I remember being up there and everyone watching me, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can barely play jazz saxophone. Anyway, so shout out to jazz flautists. You guys.
Jazz flout.
And so Vince Guaraldi, came in and did all that. And it's amazing. He kept some of the original songs from like Linus and Lucy, that classic.
The themes that they
kept that. And this amazing creation came out of all of this. They kind of weaved together all these different comic strips that had the Great Pumpkin in it and formed this story. And so I'm just going to go through it a little bit because, first of all, I thought this was way more organized than it is. Flew too close to the sun. So I went and watched it, and I haven't watched it in years. And I totally forgot how beautiful that intro is, where it's just the Linus and Lucy song, and they're just walking to get a pumpkin, and it's silent. And Lucy brings it back, and she gets a knife and just starts stabbing the pumpkin. And the first line of the whole movie or the whole show is Linus saying, like, "You didn't tell me you were gonna kill it." I laughed so hard. It's so funny. It's so good. This whole special is just line after line, solid, 100%.
Lucy, an icon too.
Oh, Lucy, she reminds me of my daughter.
Oh, really?
Yep. So the whole plot of it is that Linus is this deep belief that the Great Pumpkin, who he confuses with Santa Claus, talks about how it's going to give all the good children who wait for him gifts. And they sing pumpkin carols, and pretty much just a weird combo of Santa Claus and this pumpkin. And he is like writing letters to Pumpkin, the Great Pumpkin, and mailing them off. And,
right.
And all the other kids are like, "Stop embarrassing us." That word is used so often. Is like, "You're embarrassing us." And he's just sitting there like,
so relatable.
"Dear Great Pumpkin," and his sister's like, "You are so stupid." Like the amount of times they use stupid and dumb. I was watching.
Kids don't give a shit.
No. And Linus, here's the thing. Linus is like, "No, I'll never stop believing." Good. And one of the scenes, so I didn't realize this was the first time the football kick. You know, the one where Lucy holds the football and tricks out Charlie every time. This is the first time they animated it. So
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So
I don't think I knew that.
At first the network was like, "It seems like you guys are just cobbling together different little stories. How is this going to work?" And of course, they pull it off great because you just put the background as like fall, and then they're just playing football near Halloween. Easy. And it's just like a 2-minute scene, but I forgot how evil and mean and wonderful Lucy is because she makes him. She's like, "I signed a document saying that I won't pull it out from under you this time." And Charlie's like, "Okay," and then she does, and she's like, "I didn't notarize it." And Charlie so just good. Takes it, dude. Of course, so relatable.
Because he's like, "Well, I'm the idiot. I should have known about notarization."
I should have known about notarization. Meanwhile, these same bullies, aka his friends, are all getting their costumes ready. This is one of my favorite parts where they like cut holes in the sheets to wear as like ghosts.
Oh yeah.
And Charlie Brown somehow cuts like way too many holes in his sheet, and of course he gets absolutely roasted for it. Everyone's like, "You idiot! You don't even know how to cut a sheet." And I just know that that is the voice in Charles Schultz's head. Is all those other kids talking to Charlie Brown is the voice in his head telling him he sucks. And I deeply related to that. I love it.
Yeah.
Even a holiday special you can't have it like without all the sad. I'm getting off topic, kind of. What
are you talking about? This is awesome. I love it.
Then Snoopy, of course, another little like piece that the network was like, "Why are you putting this in?" And it's the part where Snoopy pretends he's a World War I flying ace.
Right. Snoopy becomes the Red Baron.
Yeah, so they all get their costumes ready, and Snoopy comes walking in with like a Red Baron, like with the costume with like the goggles and the cape.
The goggles,
and the jacket, and this is the best part is Snoopy's just there in the background as he usually is, just kind of doing his thing. And these kids are just wrecking each other, just like, "Oh, Charlie Brown, you're such an idiot. Oh, look at that idiot dummy." And Lucy's like, "My brother sucks. He believes in this stupid pumpkin." And then Snoopy's just like, "Look at me." And he like gets on top of his little house and he starts to, and he starts to pretend to like have an air battle with Germans, like full on fake, just in his imagination. So that's what Snoopy's doing. Again, I said the network was like, "What are you doing? This has nothing to do with Halloween." But the way he wove it in to this, masterful. Yeah. Because it was like a parallel story. And a lot of this, the making of this, they were just kind of like, "Okay, do you think this is even going to work?" Like, "Okay, we're going to, okay, let's just keep doing it. Let's hope for a blockbuster." And the studio or the network the whole time is like, is it good? Is it going to be good?
Is it good?
Can you do this better than the Christmas one? And
man, I'm so glad that executives get paid a lot of money to just be like, is it good?
Can you make it
It
better?
needs to be good. Wow, you should make hundreds of thousands of dollars. What would we do without
what
you,
would we do without
idiot?
you? Just a bunch of nagging
Oh my God.
teachers.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Like, you done with your homework yet? Can I
Yeah.
see it? Line work looks weird. Huh.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm mad.
Glad that you weighed in. Thanks.
Thanks. You hired me to do my
Yeah,
job.
exactly.
Yelling.
Eat shit.
Eat shit. Eat pumpkin. So this whole like Red Baron thing was like Charles Schultz's like little like, ooh, I gotta fit this in somehow. And so
Yeah.
all these kids are like trick or treating, and Snoopy's like shooting down fake German planes, and crashing into France and trudging through fields and like going into the trenches.
Doing a whole thing.
He's like in the trenches of World War One, crashes in France, and while the kids are all just trick or treating, now this is all happening, Snoopy's just LARPing all over the place as like a World War One pilot. And while they trick or treat, they go to eat the doors, and of course Lucy's like, so Linus doesn't come because he's sitting in the
What are you
pumpkin
doing?
patch,
Right.
waiting for this mythical pumpkin, and Lucy goes to the door of one of the houses, and she's like, "Can I get an extra piece of candy for my stupid brother?" Which is just like the most sibling thing ever. Where it's like, I care about my brother, and he's
100%.
a big dumb idiot. I can't believe I'm doing this, but can you give me some candy for him?
I have to.
And-
yeah, my mom says I have to.
Exactly. And they all get candy, except for Charlie Brown, who gets a bag of rocks.
It's Charlie Brown. Should have gotten it notarized.
I just forgot that he only got rocks, which means like he got shat on by the kids and their parents. The adults in the town are like, oh yeah, this kid gets a rock. And not one, but 3. And did they talk to each other? Did they all plan on giving Charlie Brown rocks? Or did they all have a rock near the door to give to Charlie Brown because they just knew he was coming for Halloween? And that's what he deserved.
They were just like, yeah, listen, this kid sucks.
See that kid
we
out
need
there?
to make sure that he's depressed as possible.
He's not sad enough. So they get to the party. They were all going to a Halloween party. And there's the classic Peanuts dancing,
Which is like the same 4 kids.
Same 4
over and
kids,
over
like
again.
doing a little thing. I was going to say, the reason Charlie Brown just rolls over and takes it is because he understands the futility of life. That is life. And people who don't understand that are going to be disappointed over and over and over again.
The sooner you accept disappointment, the sooner you can live a life of meaning.
Freedom, honestly. I'm free
Freedom,
of
it's true.
being let down. Because I'm just like, well, whatever.
That's true.
I don't know.
Everything's terrible. And if you start at the base of everything being terrible, you can only go up.
And I don't think that's wrong. I used to think like, oh, I should be more optimistic. It's like, absolutely not. Anyway. So they go to the party, and there's the Peanuts dancing all the, and then Snoopy just finished crossing some trenches, and he like sneaks into the village, and he comes and joins the party. And Schroeder plays him some songs, and this is the part where Snoopy starts to like cry because the songs are sad, and he just fought and battled. Yeah. And he cries a bunch. Which I feel like no one talks about enough. It's like this Halloween special, Snoopy just went to war, and now he's crying over a piano playing like World War One
PTSD,
songs.
clearly, yeah.
I love that. And all the kids are like dancing, and I'm like, if that isn't PTSD right there, I don't know what is.
Also, perfect encapsulation of people who come back from war, and everyone's just like, whatever, eat shit.
Yeah.
We're just gonna dance.
And they're like, I killed a man. I killed many men. Yeah. And they're again, Charlie Brown gets shat on at the party because everyone's like, can we use you as a model? And they just draw a pumpkin's face on his head as like a piece of, they use him as scrap paper. Anyway, so the whole time Linus is just out there in the pumpkin patch being like, I know there's a pumpkin man or whatever. What is it? The Great Pumpkin. And there was more trash talk. His friends come back and they're like, you are so dumb. And he was just still out there alone. And his friends were like, you're an idiot. And Sally abandons him and his sister abandons him. And he just lays down and curls up alone in the pumpkin patch. And after having like this huge, massive crisis of faith, because he accidentally says if he comes instead of when he comes. And he's worried that the pumpkin isn't going to give him anything because he didn't believe hard enough, which religion.
Or, ladies and gentlemen, that's called an anxiety disorder in a child.
Undiagnosed OCD. Linus waits, and the pumpkin never comes, which, again, very important, I think, for kids to see.
Yes.
And
yes.
Lucy comes and gets him, and angrily, like, puts him in his bed, cares about him. And I watched this as an adult, and what I got from it was way different. Obviously, I just saw inside of Charles Schultz's mind of his battle with faith and depression and the voices, the self-deprecation and the way he saw himself, and the way even though like Charlie Brown seems like a decent kid, he still gets shat on by everybody. Yep. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's just like a weird. I don't even think he meant to do it. I never mean to do this. I just draw, and then later I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh, I don't think he meant to do any of these things. Yeah, I think that's
because in those interviews he's oh well, I just just draw, and it's like I don't know, man.
The three people that he was were Charlie Brown, which was like his miserable part. Yeah. Linus, who's like the philosopher, kind of like
theologian,
a waitress, theologian, and then Schroeder.
Yeah.
Was his work ethic. Oh. And that was his first marriage, was just him playing piano all the time, and then Lucy trying to get his attention. He's like, I have to play piano for 10 million hours a day. I don't care. And she's just always trying to get his attention. He's like, I can't. I'm focused on this. That was like the three splits of his personality. That. Yeah, that's what Schroeder is. Schroeder is like his obsession with being like, I have to keep doing this. Like, that's why that character is a reflection of him.
I feel it so strongly, dude.
Yeah.
And like looking back on the graphic novel I tried writing, I'm like, oh, this is just me, a bunch of me's doing different things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And interacting with each other.
Once you lean into that, it becomes much not easy, but it just becomes, you're just like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, who cares?
I'm this way.
Yeah.
This is how I am. This is one side of my personality. This is another one, and I'm just going to let it run.
And it's kind of fun.
It's already here.
It's kind of fun. Can I get it out, please? Like, I think I want to do more of that, where I just try to get it out, because as we've talked about, sometimes we're just like, this stupid head, this whatever's in here is so frustrating and annoying that how do I get it out? Anyway.
That's all my Permafriends books are. Like, those three characters are just like, it's like the neurotic part of me, the sort of like goofy idiot part of me, and then like the weird, kind of, if I may say, like philosophical, kind of like overly intellectual part of it. And it's just the three of them arguing about stuff.
What did mine say?
And that's just it's all happens in my brain all the time. It's just those three voices fighting with each other. And I'm like, I'll just put them on paper and have them go on adventures. And it's basically it.
I gotta look at my comics again. There's a lot of body horror in mine. And
oh, I mean, listen, we'll save this for another day, but Cat People has some interesting themes in it for sure. Available now.
I didn't plan on any of the themes, right?
You don't. That's the thing, is that you're not planning on it. You just have to know that, like, listen, unsolicited advice to everybody who's listening, but like, it's not about knowing why, but it's just about realizing that there's a hose, and from that hose, water will come out. And if you want to water these plants, just take the hose and water the plants and spray it everywhere. Don't ask, where does water come from? Yes. What is the psychological reason for hoses to exist? It's just spray the water and leave other people to dissect it and like sort of analyze you, to look at the flowers. That's what a critic is for. That's not your job. Your job is just to be like, where do I find the thing that's turning, and then just use that for the energy, and the rest of it will sort itself out. That's trusting the process, honestly. That's what it is. That's what they were doing, like what you're talking about. That's them just getting in the room being like, we have no idea if this is going to be a disaster, but we're tapped enough into our own.
We can't stop. Yeah. And whatever comes out.
That's the muse that you follow.
Well, that's something you told me. We could cut all this, but that's something you told me when I was working on my book, where I would like text you, be like, you've done this, help. And you were like, oh, whatever you do, like, you're going to have a book at the end of this. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just what comes out, comes out. And that was very helpful.
What comes out.
But I like that the hose analogy is perfect. Because it really is. It's like, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. It's just happening.
Here's the thing too. I'll just say this. I think this moment in the culture of social media and of like everybody being like mental health analysis, blah blah blah, and like there's more stuff that you watch on YouTube that's an analysis of something that already exists, as opposed to people creating new things. That's just sort of the way that you engage with it. So I think there's a tendency to sort of maybe analyze something before it's even anything.
Well, then it just feels fake.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have to really like turn it off.
Right.
And I think like culturally, culture is maybe not the right word, but
socially,
for lack of a better word, like socially, like the broader culture is more interested in analysis of something than they are in the production of something.
Well, we want to find meaning in things, and we want a shortcut to meaning.
Instead of just, right. But, the creation of that thing is where you find meaning, and it's not a meaning that is broad. It's a meaning that's very specific to whatever
Yes.
it is that you're going through in that moment to make that thing.
Right.
So I feel like I'm now being like, now I'm,
This is
now
awesome.
I'm Linus trying to give. Yeah.
No, this is
That's what I figured out is what
Yeah.
I'm saying in my process of doing stuff. That's how you write books.
It's true.
That's how you finish projects.
It is. And that thread that from the beginning to the end that's pulling you toward the end.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost like a set inevitable.
The fixation.
It's an inevitable.
Yeah.
It's like I will end
Yeah.
up here, and however I get there, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
To add to what you're saying is that
Yeah.
Charles Schultz put all these things on paper and in these specials, these TV specials, and I truly believe he didn't mean to. Like we were saying, I truly believe he didn't mean to put his psyche in a way that you can read
Not at
between
all.
it, and that feels great because I think that's what cartoons, that's what comic art is. It's like, yeah, what you said earlier, and like I would look back on my stuff and be like, oh, I was going through something, and wouldn't understand it till later. But at the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to draw this piece of toast that died in a toaster. and
That's interesting.
and the other toast that pops out is crying. Like, oh, what is that about? I don't know. But at the time, I was moving. I had a bunch of
But it's
stuff
interesting.
going on. And I was having a baby. Part of my old self was dying. Part of my new self was panicking. I like looking at that being like, oh, that makes sense. But at the time, you're just like, whatever. I just do whatever I want. So I see that in Charles Schultz. I see that in all of these specials he did. And it really means a lot to me. Like, I love that he was so vulnerable. Didn't even know it. That even when he's commissioned to do some, like, network special, he can't help it. He can't help but just put himself in it.
It's huge inspiration. I know exactly how you feel. It's a thing that, as you know, it's been a source for me for many years.
Yeah.
For those reasons as well. It's so much more than just, like, pulling away the football. It's, like, way more complex, and it's interesting.
Football is so important.
Football is so important.
That football is like the mountain, the Sisyphus. It's just futility. It's just that everyone's gonna screw you over, and life. Anyway, we can keep going. The whole Halloween aspect of this is that it's quintessential Halloween. It's quintessential American Halloween, which is funny because you talked about jack-o'-lanterns, and this is full of jack-o'-lanterns, and that's very American. And the Great Pumpkin being like this big mythical creature that comes and gives candy and presents to children is just so, it's so American and it's so Halloween. And like 100 years ago, people were not doing this. They were like, yeah, we'll go door to door and like give each other donuts or whatever.
Rocks.
Again with that. The rocks, everyone around him is getting candy and just rocks. I'm going all over the place. So fun facts is that, the actress who played Sally was like a 6-year-old, right? They were all kids because
they're all kids, yeah.
Melendez was like, I would hate watching an adult do a kid's voice. Like the way
he's right.
Yeah. The way Bill Melendez talks
100% correct.
is so good because he's just this. And you're like, yeah, you're grumpy. And you're right. And he's like, what? I can't listen to adults talk like children, which he's right. And so they were very specific. So they got some kids from their neighborhood too. Like, and so they like friends' kids would come in and Sally, the kid who plays her, of course I didn't write her name down, had a really loose tooth the whole time. And she couldn't pronounce some of the words. So like they had to like cut bits of a word from each take and put it together to make the word.
Put together, yeah.
And then
that's awesome.
One night her mom calls like late at night and she's like, bro, this tooth is coming out tonight and she's going to have a lisp. What do you want to do? And they're like, bring her in. So at like midnight, this poor 6-year-old gets brought into the studio to record the rest of her lines and then her tooth falls out. Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
Yeah. She's just like, her mom's like, hey, well, what do you want to do? Poor.
That's amazing.
I can't imagine.
Also, good on her for calling to like calling them and being like, I don't want to screw this up, instead of just showing up the next day being like, by the way, her tooth fell out. Oh, they could have just given her like a prosthetic or something to maybe cover some of it, if it would help her enunciate the words. I don't know, but I don't imagine they had that kind of budget for it.
No, I don't think they did. They had I think the budget was $170,000. It was very low.
It's very small, yeah.
As far as the Blockbuster aspect of it goes, this did better than the Christmas one and All Stars. Half of the country watched it live. You don't get that anymore.
That's like more than the Olympics
Yes.
or like the presidential debates.
Half of the country. And of
Super
course,
Bowl.
the studio was there. The network was like, "Oh, awesome! Of course, you pulled it off! Woo, Blockbuster!" And this
We never doubted
really
you.
like tired, bedraggled
Yeah.
like team of people. But Charles Schultz would have done it anyway. But the part where Charlie Brown gets a bunch of rocks made so many kids that watched it really sad that they mailed candy to the network for Charlie Brown.
Very cute.
Which was sweet because it's like, yeah, that's like empathy right there. Oh, this is the first time, another fun fact, the first time Snoopy got up on his hind legs. So he usually walked on all fours. And then this one is the first time they animated him walking. Anyway, I can't find the budget, but it was like maybe $200,000. And
There's nothing, basically.
Yeah, nothing. And, the word was restitution. Sally was like, could not say restitution.
Yeah. Restitution.
And so they like spliced it together.
Restitution.
This is crazy because the Halloween specials weren't a thing, right? At all. No one cared about Halloween until this. This spurred every show, program, everyone started doing Halloween episodes, which went on to shape this entire country's like way of celebrating Halloween. And
yeah,
I think that's amazing. And I can't believe it was the 60s. Yeah. It is timeless, dude. It's so timeless.
Oh, yeah. All those ones are. Even the Charlie Brown Christmas is still timeless.
It is.
And I don't even care about Christmas.
I know.
I didn't celebrate Christmas and I still watched it.
Really?
And everyone's always... Yeah, it's the funny thing to me about that one is people are like, oh, but that one's like so religious. And I was like, yeah, that's why I liked it.
Yeah.
Not because I'm religious, but because I liked the fact that Charlie Brown was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, this is a religious... Like, I always felt like people were gaslighting me, being like, no, Christmas is just like an American. I was like, no, it's not. It's a religious holiday.
It is.
And Charlie Brown was the only one who was like, dude, this is about Jesus.
Right.
And I'm like, yes.
It is about Jesus.
Yeah. And I'm like, finally, someone said it.
Yep.
So, no, those specials are all great. I think they're all on Apple.
They are.
Now,
They're on
if
Apple.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think that's the new.
Well, that's my tab on The Great Pumpkin. Everybody go watch it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to talk about Charles Schultz for like 3 hours at a
I'll
time,
do it.
I am there.
Yeah.
I'll do a live stream where I just talk about like
Same.
everything I know and I'm in love with Charles Schultz. I've thought a lot about this man, and I've thought a lot about his work and what it means to me. I can write quite a bit. I can say quite a bit.
I had not really gotten into him. I knew like the basics, but
yeah,
I was more just like the comics. But hearing about him, I feel like he's a kindred spirit a little bit. Like,
yeah, I think you've been bit by the bug in the exact same way that I was. From hearing you talk about it, I'm like, yep, I know exactly what you. I'm like, that's exactly how I felt it. For sure.
What a legend.
Absolute legend. Also, okay, I think it's Snoopy. So like the last comic that he does, it's either the last comic or the week of the last comic, like because he dies.
He drew up until he died. He was like,
no, I think he drew and then like the last published comic, but like he didn't do them the day he died.
Of course,
like, the last day it published, I think he died like the next day or something.
Whoa!
It was like this weird synchronicity where it lined up, but it was like something. I feel like they're having a snow. I don't remember if it's the last one or like one of the last ones where
here it is.
They're having a snowball fight, and then Snoopy's holding a snowball, and he's just like, and it was at that moment he realized his father never taught him how to throw a snowball or something like deeply, weirdly sad about it.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Is that the one?
It's not a snowball. It's a football. Or no, there's a snowball,
like,
a baseball, and a football.
Is that the one?
Yeah. No, I can't. We'll find it. We'll put it up. But
anyway, whichever one that one is, maybe it was a football. I thought it was a snowball.
Here's what it is. They're like, is he? Because he had planned this as his last comic, and they were like, is he finally going to get to kick the football? And Charles Schultz was like, no.
No. Yeah.
I couldn't have Charlie Brown kick that football. That would be a terrible disservice to him after nearly half a century.
Apparently, he regretted that.
Yeah.
Like,
and he felt bad. He's like, I should have let him.
Yeah, he was just like, I should have. Yeah.
Well, no,
he was like, I'm gonna die, and I never let Charlie Brown kick the football. And he was like, what would have been the harm to let him do it? Like,
no, I don't. I think that would have. I think he's right. Sometimes people never.
No, I'm saying he said that.
I know.
He was like, I should have.
But I think he was right in the first place to not let him kick it because like some people never get to kick the football. That's just life.
It's true, but I think it was interesting though.
Yeah.
Like that was his big regret of it. His regret. Yeah.
Anyway,
yes, Charlie Schultz, Sparky, love it. Love the whole tab. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was fun.
How should we now? I feel like our way of closing tabs should be getting the football pulled out from underneath you and slipping and sliding and falling.
Or I was thinking maybe something like with the devil.
Sure. Yeah. The
Let's
devil
see.
being like wasted or something.
Oh, we could throw the tabs in a bog. In
Yeah,
a
let's throw 'em in a
swamp,
bog.
like-
Let's do it.
like-
And then the catches fire
Yeah.
because Jack is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Let's
right,
just
you ready?
like plop of a bog. Yeah. Okay.
I have so many tabs open from
Oh,
this
same. It's bad.
one. So many. I did a lot of tabs for this.
Yeah.
Why don't you count us down?
All right. 3, 2, 1. Close it. Close those tabs. I'm gonna close like 6 of them.
All right. Moving on to listener emails. I believe you're up first.
You went first. So
Oh, I went first. I lied. You're right. I forgot you were. I thought you were going to go first, and then you did not. We just did your tab. Hi, I'm smart. I'm Kava. I'm catching up.
no.
Our first email is from Charlie from Vancouver.
Charlie? Really?
Charlie.
Perfect.
Yeah. Hi, Hannah and Kava. Thank you for this wonderful podcast. I came across it while listening to House of Pod recently,
Hey.
and I have been hooked ever since.
Hey.
Welcome. Wonderful.
Other Kave.
Yeah. Thank you, other Kava. He's the gift that keeps on giving, Dr. Hoda. I have ADHD and 500 open tabs makes me feel incredibly seen.
Oh, we don't have it.
Yeah, no, not at all. I have a site I return to often as it is a fertile ground where I harvest new crops of open tabs regularly.
Love this person. Love this. Wait.
Funny enough.
Wait.
Have you ever heard of the Great Pumpkin Commonwealth?
What? Is this a Great Pumpkin themed?
It's
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not a gathering for fans of Charlie Brown Halloween
No.
cartoons. No, the Great Pumpkin Commonwealth is the organization to set the rules and regulations for competitive giant pumpkin growing competitions around the world.
Cool. That's
These annual tradition
No, I was
ahead,
gonna
what were
say,
you
have
gonna
you
say?
seen some of those pumpkins that they grow?
they get insane.
Huge.
They get insane, like bigger than houses
Yeah.
almost. These annual competitions include prizes for heaviest tomato, long gourds, and the Howard Dill Prettiest Giant Pumpkin Award. But of course, the main event is the Giant Atlantic Pumpkin Weigh-Offs. Currently, world record is a 2,702-pound pumpkin grown in Italy by Stefano Cutruppi.
Wait, 2,700 pounds.
2,700 pounds and in Italy.
I can't even comprehend that. That's like
It's
more than a car
pretty-
by far.
Yeah, I think that's that's like that's more than a ton. It's more than a ton.
Insane.
One of my favorite things about the source of this tab is that since the Great Pumpkin Commonwealth is worldwide, there's an annual weigh-off in my area that I attend. I could go into the lore of some local giant pumpkin stars, but I already feel like this email is too long. Anyways, I hope you have a good time reading
No,
this.
no.
Thank
Say that again.
Gourd?
Gourd.
Oh, I thought that was a typo. Gourd. Oh, my bad. I hope you have a gourd time reading
Nice.
this. I missed the pun. Thank you for sharing your delightful interest with the world. All the best. Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Listen, I'm going to send you a picture of the... This thing is... Oh, my God.
Is this the
Unbelievable.
Italian guy's pumpkin?
Yeah, I'm going to text it to you right now so you can see it. This thing is just gigantic. That pumpkin looks unhappy.
Whoa.
I don't think pumpkins are meant... They're just like, I don't want to be here.
That thing wanted to die a long time ago.
Absolutely.
This looks like it's been hooked up to like a ventilator and they're just
Yep.
keeping it alive just enough for its family to come say goodbye to it. Okay, that is insane. That's okay. Oh, so I always accidentally leave my pumpkins out all year after Halloween until they rot into the ground. Just
Sure.
imagine this rotting and how much rotten pumpkin that would be.
Quite a lot. That's like, yeah.
That
I don't
is
know. I don't think I wanna think
massive.
about how much
Look
it
how
is.
proud that guy is. He's so proud of his pumpkin.
He should be.
How do they get it to be that
Anyway.
big?
I don't know. They just give it like steroids and HGH, and they feed it whey protein,
Yeah.
and then it does cold plunges, and it goes into the sauna,
cupping.
and then they go back and forth. Cupping. They do a lot of I don't know. What is the
Make a
stuff
deal
that
with the
all those
devil.
girls
I don't
drink?
know.
Make a deal with the devil. Yeah.
Crow
I think
milk?
Jack O'Lantern.
Wait, what
comes
is
in.
it?
Yeah.
Fight milk.
Fight milk. Feed it a lot of fight milk.
Okay, well, mine is from he'll tell us. Hey, Hannah and Kaveh, long-time listener, first-time caller, Adam from Nebraska. My tab is brought to you by Hannah's tab on time capsules.
Hannah.
Hearing about the crypt of civilization being one of the largest shook something loose in my brain and reminded me that the largest time capsule in the world is just a few miles away from me in Seward, Nebraska. The capsule was certified by Guinness World Records, but the crypt argued that theirs was larger. And to settle the argument, so the crypt got in like an argument with Guinness, Crypt of Civilization.
I would like to think that the crypt itself got
it's
on
like
the horn and just was yelling at it. It's like a monster house, like just getting up with like its limbs.
There's a video of Hitler in here.
Yeah.
Or a recording. But the crypt argued that theirs was larger, and to settle the argument, Guinness removed the category altogether. But not to be but not to be outdone, the time capsule was expanded to make sure it was the largest. Built by a local man named Harold Keith Davison, who wanted to make sure his grandkids would know how his life in the 1970s was. Some of what was included was a brand new Chevy Vega and a teal leisure suit with yellow flowers embroidered on it.
Yeah.
Enclosed is a giant cement pyramid. It is due to be opened this coming year, 2025. Thanks for making the podcast. It's a fantastic way to spend time while I should be productive at work. Adam.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Imagine being insane enough to be like, this is going to be my crypt, and it's going to be a time capsule, and I'm going to put a car in there.
It sounds like something you'd do if you had access to a crypt.
Thank you for listening.
Yes. Thank you guys for listening. If you have a tab of your own that you'd like to submit to listener emails, please email us at 500opentabs@gmail.com. That's 500. Give us a quick little blurb, send us the article, and let us know where you're from.
Yeah.
And additionally, we are still taking submissions for voice memos. If you want to write that all up and then speak it, we can play the voice memo on the air, and people will be excited because they'd be like, hey, that's a real person whose voice exists, rather than reading an email that
we could have made up.
It's not fake. We could have made it up. You don't know. But if you read it, then that we know that it's not made up.
And if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can do the same at 500opentabs, number 500. And also on YouTube, which is getting to be really like, we've been getting really into like making it visually like fun. And there's a lot of really cool things there that you guys, I think you'd like.
Subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the Patreon, subscribe to the Discord, subscribe to everything, leave us reviews, follow the sponsor links, do what you can. If you, very important, if a friend recommended this to you, or you heard it like our friend in the last email who heard us on another podcaster on our show, go ahead and recommend it to a friend as well. Keep the chain going. Let somebody else know. We're trying to get as many people as we can to learn about this podcast, and podcasts are pretty much only word of mouth, it seems. So tell whoever you can, if there's something that was interesting in either in this episode or another episode that you've listened to and you bring it up at a cocktail party, tell them to listen to it. Or if you even go to cocktail parties.
Your brother and you used to watch The Great Pumpkin, send it to him. Or
if you are Jack-o'-lantern, or if you too have deceived the devil multiple times. Tell your friends. If you're in a bog. Dude, with a jack-o'-lantern,
tell your bog friends.
Tell people who come into the bog. Yeah, tell people who come in and are drowning in the bog. As you're dying, you should listen to this podcast.
And just like bog body lifts itself out and just 500 open tabs.
You know, they talked about me on an episode of 500 Open Tabs lately.
Have you heard of that? It has like a goofy American voice in the middle of Irish bogs. Anyway. That's all.
I believe that takes us to the end. We'll be back next week. I hope that the world doesn't collapse. It's going to be an interesting week coming up. It's the one that everyone's worried about.
Some, voting that needs to be done. So
go ahead and vote. Yay,
good luck.
vote.
Take deep breaths or whatever. I don't know. Whatever you do to be calm.
Hopefully it doesn't all fall apart. Let's see. I'm a bit nervous.
Both of our rights aren't taken away. But whatever. That comes later.
Yeah. That comes later. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. And in the meantime, have a spooky, safe Halloween.
Yes.
And soon is Nixon here 5 times.
That was him.